All right, folks, let's rewind to June 23rd, 1985. Air India Flight 182, a Boeing 747, takes off from Toronto, Canada. Destination Bombay, India, with a stopover in London. On board 329 souls, a mix of families, students and professionals, many of Indian descent. The atmosphere? Like any other long-haul flight, a mix of anticipation, excitement, maybe a little boredom. Fast forward a few hours. The flight lands at Montreal's Mirabel International Airport for a scheduled layover. Passengers disembark, stretch their legs, grab a bite. Little do they know, this ordinary stopover will be their last steps on solid ground. Back in the air, Flight 182 continues its journey towards London.
Then at 7:14 a.m. Irish Standard Time, disaster strikes. 31,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Ireland, a bomb detonates in the forward cargo hold. The explosion is catastrophic, instantly tearing the aircraft apart. No mayday call, no warning. Just a sudden disappearance from radar screens, leaving air traffic control baffled and horrified.
The news spreads like wildfire. Air India Flight 182 gone, vanished into the unforgiving waters of the Atlantic. The world watched in horror as the news broke. 329 lives extinguished in an instant. The scale of the tragedy was unimaginable, the largest mass murder in Canadian history until that point. And the victims? Mostly Canadians, many of Indian descent heading home for visits or vacations. Canada mourned with them, grappling with the realization that such an act of terror could happen to its own. The bombing sent shockwaves across the globe. It was a stark reminder of the reach of extremism, the vulnerability of innocent lives, and the devastating consequences of hate. The world grieved, but for the families of the victims, the pain was just beginning. S1. Families torn apart, dreams shattered. The impact on the Indo-Canadian community was profound. They had lost mothers, fathers, children, friends, a generation decimated. The immediate aftermath was chaos. Rescue crews rushed to the crash site, a desolate stretch of ocean hundreds of miles off the Irish coast. But the scene was grim. The force of the explosion, the sheer depth of the water, left little hope for survivors. The recovery effort was massive, involving Canadian and Indian ships, aircraft, and hundreds of personnel.
The investigation was complex and sprawling. The RCMP, the FBI, and Indian authorities collaborated, piecing together the puzzle of what brought down Flight 182. The evidence pointed to a bomb, a chilling realization. But who was behind it?
The investigation revealed a complex web of extremist motives, centered around a Sikh separatist group seeking revenge for the Indian government's actions in the Golden Temple attack a year earlier. This group, operating primarily from Canada, had orchestrated the bombing from afar.
The investigation was long and arduous, hampered by jurisdictional issues and challenges in gathering evidence. But slowly, painstakingly, the pieces came together, leading investigators to the perpetrators of this heinous act.
Section 4. A thirst for justice, the long road to accountability. The investigation identified the key players, but bringing them to justice proved a monumental task. Indictments were filed, trials were held, but the road to accountability was long and winding. Canadian official? Some suspects were acquitted due to lack of evidence, while others received convictions on lesser charges. The mastermind behind the bombing, the man who orchestrated the entire operation, remained out of reach for years. He was finally apprehended, extradited to Canada, and put on trial. However, he too was acquitted due to insufficient evidence, a crushing blow to the families who had waited decades for justice. The lack of convictions in the case sparked outrage and frustration. Many felt that justice had been denied, that the perpetrators had escaped accountability for their heinous crimes. The Canadian government launched inquiries examining the failures in intelligence gathering and security measures that allowed the bombing to happen. Section 5. Remembering the victims. Stories of loss and resilience. The Air India bombing wasn't just a tragedy, it was a collection of 329 individual stories, each filled with love, laughter and dreams cut tragically short. Family member. There was the young couple returning to India for their wedding, their future wiped out in an instant. There was the family of four, excited to introduce their newborn to their grandparents, their joy turning to unimaginable grief. And there was the aspiring doctor, returning home after years of study, his potential extinguished before it could be fully realized. These stories, woven together, paint a heartbreaking picture of the human cost of this tragedy. But amidst the grief and loss, there were also stories of resilience, of communities coming together to support one another, of finding strength in shared pain. Families of the victims, though devastated, channeled their grief into action, becoming advocates for justice, demanding accountability, and ensuring that the memory of their loved ones would not be forgotten. Section 6. A legacy of change, heightened security and enduring lessons. The Air India bombing forced the world to confront the reality of terrorism, prompting a global shift in aviation security protocols. Airports tightened security measures, introducing more stringent baggage screening, passenger profiling and enhanced intelligence sharing between nations. Indian historian. The tragedy also highlighted the need for greater international cooperation in combating terrorism, leading to the establishment of new treaties and agreements aimed at preventing future attacks. The legacy of Air India Flight 182 serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of hate and extremism. It underscores the importance of vigilance, the need for continued investment in security measures, and the ongoing pursuit of justice for the victims of terrorism. The bombing also serves as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The families of the victims, through their tireless advocacy and unwavering commitment to honoring the memory of their loved ones, have ensured that the lessons learned from this tragedy will not be forgotten.